So COP dialogue is one way in which we are trying to focus on one particular issue or subject and get experiences from across different parts of the Asia Pacific region, because given the vastness of the region, there are experiences happening in all countries. So we thought if we focus on one issue and bring in perspectives from different countries, then that will give an opportunity for countries also to know what's happening in other places. And so that would promote a kind of a conversation. And the way we are forcing COP dialogue is not just that this publication, but after that we'll have dialogues, so that we will take up an issue and then have a conversation, so that there is an ongoing discussion rather than just stop with one publication. And so the first one, we thought, given that the Congress is coming up in December and the focus is on identity, so we thought the first issue will focus on that. But within the identity itself, we want to get different perspectives of cooperatives, not just cooperatives talking about how important the identity is, but also getting perspective from other experiences. And so I think Korea experience in that sense, looking at it from a social and solidarity economy perspective, brings in a different, we are looking at it from a different lens. So that's why we thought iCOOP and you are the right person to be talking. So good. First question, what I'd like to start with is, we talked about the Congress, which is happening in Seoul from December 1st to 3rd. So can you, I'm sure you and iCOOP are involved with the preparations, at least from the Korean side. So is there something that you can share about what the mood in Korea is, what the thinking is, and how they look at this Congress, especially that it's looking at the identity?
Oh, okay. So first of all, yeah, it's a little bit bad, the situation that we are in the COVID-19, because for Koreans, it's the best, it will be the best opportunity to promote how the movement has grown and developed so far since 2012. And now we are talking about the wider concept of the social economy and SSE. So it's bad that we hold this Congress as a hybrid format, but lots of the cooperators and SSE are looking forward to meeting the cooperators from other countries and to sharing the experience and information. So yeah, it's a very good opportunity for us after all.
And how is iCOOP being involved? What is your role and how are you all involved in?
And details, so we are working on our session. It's a 2.5 session on entrepreneurship. And then we are organizing the participation nationwide. So with the budget of iCOOP, we are inviting at least one person from every the member clubs. So at least 150 people will attend the Congress, and to see how iCOOP is engaged in this ICA activities, also how big this ICA and the cooperative movements is in the world. So it is so most of the members and the member cooperatives haven't had a chance to share and network with the cooperatives in the world. So yeah, so we are organizing so every the people, at least one person from the member cooperatives that can participate in this the Congress.
Okay, that's good. For 100 members is good. I think we have a hopeful there'll be more. For yesterday, we had the ICA Global Board meeting, and there was this update given on number of registrations, both from outside Korea and from within Korea. And we still see that there is the numbers are there, but we still need a lot more. But it's good to see iCOOP is going to get
far,
100 members.
So how many are the people outside Korea will participate?
It's a balance between, because it's hybrid, so there are some on-site and then online, and even the on-site, you have two events. One is the research and legal, and then one is the Congress. So there are some people registered only for the legal conference and the research, some who are registered only for the Congress, some who are registered for all, both the Congress. So that I think numbers online, I think are around, again, I may be incorrect, but these are not tentative numbers. So on-site, I think it's close to Congress, it's close to, I think, 400 when you look at both the legal and the Congress per se. And online, I think it's 200 plus or something like that. So, so maybe the numbers may be reversed. It'll be big, but I'm thinking in the thing around 400 is the number at this point. But hopefully, usually we find that towards as the event gets closer, more interest perks up and numbers increase. How does the iCOOP in particular see the identity? How important is the identity, which we talk about in terms of definition, values, and principles? How important is it for iCOOP in its work and what it does?
So for about 30 years, so the principles of the cooperatives are so important for us. So there are 7 the principles, and iCOOP has pursued to follow and introduce all of the 7 principles to businesses and also associations. So for example, if a membership, we tried to so more members could be engaged in the activities and also in businesses. And so, for example, the concern for communities is also becoming important because of the COVID-19. So, so the identity is very important for iCOOP, and but in terms of the IC Congress, we hope this identity could be strengthened in entire movement of the cooperatives, so that our identity could be, for example, included in the policy of the government or the law on the cooperatives, or on the activities and businesses and the cooperation among cooperatives. So yeah, we hope this identity could be sustained in terms of the memberships, and also at every level of the working for the cooperatives, such as government, yes, and works and businesses and activities.
Yeah, I think one of the member organizations which have been most impressed, especially when it comes to looking at it from a values and principles perspective, is iCOOP. For I remember when I visited the first time, I went to one of your stores, and right as soon as you enter, you see the 7 cooperative principles which are put right in front. So members, that's something which you find striking. It's right in front of your face. But also the effort that you all put on member education, right from the time they show interest in the cooperative. So you're educating them about what their roles and responsibilities are and what it means. And then the emphasis that you all give on education. I think Principle 5 I have found to be very, very, among one of the leading, I would say you all are one of the leaders as far as it comes. As far as Principle 5 goes. So is there a particular reason why you all give so much emphasis on trying to educate members?
Yes, so education is interconnected with many things like membership and responsibility of members, and also activities and businesses and cooperation with other cooperatives or social SSE organizations. So education is the first step when members join iCOOP. So we provide online and offline educations, and we also develop materials every year. And we also send members to the foreign country to learn other cooperatives or other best cases. So yeah, as education is, I think it's a very fundamental the responsibility of the cooperatives to provide our members.
One question more for me, and then I'll let Simran and Juhee Lee step in. So you, even when we started talking at the beginning, you've been talking more things SSEs and not cooperatives say. So how does, is iCOOP talking more and more about social and solidarity economy these days? And how do you look at the cooperatives part of, you all are a cooperative, but then you all also are very active in the SSE space. So is that more, you are talking more and more about SSEs, but then ensuring that cooperatives are included as part of that discussion?
Yes, that's correct. And the cooperatives is definitely the part of the SSE. And we have our principles and values and definition of the cooperatives, but these are the principles are similar to other SSEs. So we share same social values and the principles and definition, I think. So for example, a few years ago, we declared SAPENet as called, I forgot, the Sustainable and the People-Centered Economy Network. So this is to create more synergy and share the resources and also share information, not only in the Federation of the Consumer Cooperatives called iCOOP, but also in producers and employees and foundation and in other social enterprises and SSE organizations. So, so to have a more synergy to address the social issues and develop our businesses and our activities as so cooperation, not only with cooperatives, but also with SSE organizations, is very important to overcome the difficulty, especially in the society, for example, COVID-19.
Okay, thank you for that. And Juhee Lee and Simran, I'll come back whenever I have something, I find something to add, but I'll let you all step in.
Okay, sir. Hi, Juhee. So the first question to you from our side is that the Korea SSE network has been working to enact the Framework Act on SSE for 10 years. Can you tell us briefly how this proposed act is different from the 2012 Framework Act on Cooperatives?
So the Framework Act on Cooperatives was enacted in 2012 to celebrate the International Year of the Cooperatives. So this is for cooperatives. So it only covers the cooperatives newly established since 2012. So this act allows 5 people to form a cooperative and the field except finance and insurance. But there are other separated specific laws on consumer cooperative or agriculture cooperatives. So this is these acts are for the cooperatives. But the Framework Act on SSE is the act that cover not only cooperatives, but also other SSE organizations, including social enterprises and the community businesses. And we also have a self-help organizations. So we have a lots of various SSE organization, including cooperatives, but the definition and the scope of these SSE is a very unclear, because we don't have any legal basis to cover all of the stakeholders and the organizations. So, and there are local governments that have promoted SSE at local level, but the various restrictions exist because of the absence of the Framework Act enacted by central governments. So this act is important to recognize of the laws and definition of SSE, and also recognize how this SSE organization help and contributed to the welfare needed to, for the publics that the national finances cannot cover.
Okay, so I mean, they're trying to pass this act for the last 10 years. So what is the bone of contention here? What are the reservations against this act?
So why we wait 10 years, you mean?
Yes.
Because it's not the priority for the government. So yeah, so we have pushed. So we are not a member of the Korea Social and Solidarity Economy Network. So we published the declaration and statements, and we pushed the governments, but it's not their priority. So yeah, it's on the agenda, but we are still waiting for the act to be passed.
Okay, and a follow-up question to this, just in case, whenever, if and when this act on SSE is passed, what implications will it have on the existing laws for co-ops, the 8 industry laws and the Framework Act?
So yeah, we have separate laws for each social economy organization, such as there is a law for social enterprise, law for cooperatives, and law for community businesses. So if this act is enacted, so we hope the policies to promote it separately in each administrative department or government will be integrated, and SSE organization will be activated more effectively. And then, so for example, the contents of the act on the social economy includes that the government should establish a basic plan for the whole SSE development over a 5-year period. And also regional plans should be established accordingly. And yeah, so that's the one of the contents. And also we expect that it will be very easy to prepare various social economy organization funds or development plan together. So yeah, so I think so if the act is enacted, will be further strengthened as because the various organizations would sharing same social purposes are granted the legal qualification and in one SSE the law.
Okay, so this seems like a positive picture that you're presenting.
Yeah, it's a positive.
And if this act is passed, so it seems that it will have positive outcomes, not only for co-ops, but also for other SSE organizations. But SSE is essentially this solidarity economy. So even if this act is passed, do you see engagement of co-ops with other SSC actors in order to create that economy? Right now, all these actors are working in silos, and they may not necessarily be partnering or engaging with each other. So the macro level effect may not be there in terms of the SSC, the economy. So do you see more engagement as and when this framework is enacted?
Yeah, we hope so. Because so, for example, consumer cooperatives has a specific law, and then agriculture cooperative has a specific law, and then the government, the ministries are very different. They have a separate law for each cooperative movement. So it's for us, it's a very ineffective. And then it also blocked the chance to each other's strengths and weakness for further cooperation. So if there is the consolidated SSE law, so we can work together effectively, and also we will have a legal qualification that what SSE is in Korea.
Can I just ask a question here? So this integration with the SSEs, is it largely by the consumer cooperatives, or are the others also, like you mentioned, agriculture, forestry, and fisheries and other cooperatives? How do they view this being integrated or being part of this SSE framework? Is there common interest, or is there still some things saying we need to be separate?
Yeah, it's a very good and very sensitive question. Yes. So in situation of the cooperative movement, we have a very different opinions among cooperatives. For example, we have a very different from the opinions with agricultural cooperatives. And for example, some cooperatives are not really interested in SSE, or have with the lack of understanding of SSE. So so not all of the cooperatives are interested in enacting this law, but there are definitely consumer cooperatives are leading this, but other cooperatives are also participating in the movement, but there is but not all of them. So it's a very sensitive issue in Korea. Yeah,
I get that. That's why, because again, when we done that earlier, we sent a survey, and then there were in the response also, this was mentioned that some of the older, more established cooperatives still keep themselves away, whereas some of the more newer ones formed consumer under the Framework Act workers seem to be more directed in that direction.
Yes.
I guess that inherent tension is there, but we need to see how that's going to play out going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, Simran.
Please go ahead.
I'd like to understand this thing. So, Ms. Juhee, you mentioned that there is not much clarity regarding SSC among members there. So, I would like to understand, like, what is their understanding of SSC in Korea? And then, since you are interested in the SSC movement, so how do you integrate cooperatives and SSC?
So as the second question, in more practical way, Icub is engaged in the SSCs, even in businesses. For example, we develop products together. We open our online platform for the SSCs to sell their products. We also have a campaign together for to enact this SSE law. And but about the definition of SSE, so I think cooperatives and SSE have done many positive things, especially during the COVID-19. But the public is not known very well about the SSEs. So yeah, so I think most of the country does have share the same experience, but for example, cooperatives do really good jobs, but people don't know what cooperatives is. So yeah, I think it's the same the situation in Korea. So we like to, for the raising awareness of the SSE, so the act is very important for us.
Thank you, Ms. Juhee. Simran, you can continue.
Okay, thanks, Shivali. I actually have two follow-up questions on what we are already discussing. One is, could you highlight a few examples of how cooperatives, if and when this act is passed, or even without it, how are your member organizations interacting with other SSE actors at ground level?
So, for example, we have 101 member cooperatives nationwide, and then they organize their activities separately by their own. So they organize for example, activities with the SSE in the community. For example, donation activities or helping victims of a flood or the COVID-19, with collaborating with the SSE organization. Also, they are participating in the regional network for SSEs. So they do their jobs and works by their own in the communities. But as in the terms of the federation, so basically we collaborate with the SSE in terms of the businesses. So for example, I already said that we opened the online platform for small SSEs to participate in the online platform and sell their products. We also developed the products together. We also conducted the fundraising for the small SSE organization during the COVID-19 to help them. So, and we also set up a network called the SAPENet to share our resources and the information and help each other. So yes, so we always, when we consider our businesses and activities, so we also consider not only the Icub but also the SSE organization to, also it's very good for even for us because it will give some more visibility to the publics and members that SSE is doing great jobs for the social value.
So when co-ops, let's say, develop products in collaboration with, let's say, other SSE actors, so how do co-ops retain their identity and branding and image? Because if there is a partnership in terms of producing goods together or doing activities together, there is a possibility that the name of cooperatives may get subsumed, and sort of undermined. But our whole initiative and our whole position is that yes, SSE should be there, but co-op identity should not get diluted, the branding, the visibility. So in your context where there is an engagement already taking place, how do you ensure that co-op identity does not get diluted?
So as I said before, I think SSE's the values and principles SSE is shared with the cooperatives. So we have a same, the purpose and goals when we established SSE organizational cooperatives, so-called, pursuing social value and providing more benefits, and not only for members but also community people. So because we share the social values, so it will be easier even for us to make a partnership and do businesses together. So I think it doesn't have any problem when we do the businesses and activities with SSEs.
If I can just ask a question, my earlier question I had asked was tension within cooperatives with the different sectors and SSCs. But now the other question is on the other side, how do the SSC players view cooperatives? And what is the perception from that side?
Okay, very different views according to, you know, the cooperatives. So Korea has a various scope and various skills and size of the cooperatives. So some cooperatives have a really good relationship with SSEs, but actually, in fact, some cooperatives don't have a good relationship with this with SSE because of a lack of perception, or you know, even some of the cooperatives think they are not part of the SSEs because of because they think it's different from the cooperatives and SSEs. So yeah, so the SSEs think very different view to the each cooperatives.
Yeah, that's again a tension with that side to integrate. So I think it's you all have that. You all are in the middle, having to address both sides. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops over time. And I think this all take time and to get both sides to come on the same platform, because like you said, the overall interest is on how do we promote the social and economic values rather than just the economic part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Juhee, you also attended along with Sir and me the ILO workshop on SSC.
Oh yes.
Would you like to share some of your key takeaways from the workshop?
So I attended ILO workshop. It is in March, I think, and then I was surprised that so SSC is a new concept in Korea. It's been only years. But I was surprised that SSE has expanded all over the world, and people know what SSE is. And even the UN or EU or even the OECD paying attention to SSE as one of the strategy for the growth and the development after the COVID-19. So I found this very interesting, and also I found that so many participants in the workshop paid attention and are interested in qualitative and also quantitative growth of the SSEs. And we identified the problems and issues the society has, and so during the process. It was very interesting to know that in the process that the participant found the practical solution to solve the problems through the SSE. So I think I like the concrete plans we shared in the ILO workshop.
Yeah, please share your plan with us also. For there was a briefing towards the end where everybody shared their plans. So if you do have an action plan that you want to work on, maybe you can share it with us at a later time. And also,
sorry.
And also, so this is my last question to you. So currently the new act hasn't been passed, but it seems that the SSC space is not uniformly spread across Korea or among different actors. It's not uniform. So how do you see it grow? How do you see it evolve in future? And what is the current status of the act and the advocacy around it?
Okay. So to iCOOP, so we think SS is very important as the safety net of the society, and also we think SSA could be an important stakeholder to realize the sustainable development goals. and then also for a more inclusive economy. So that's why we pursue the campaigns for the enactment of SSE together with the network. But the reality is the scales and the size of Korea's SSE is still small. So, but we think the COVID crisis is really, the bad and tragedy for the world, but for SSE, it became one of the important opportunities that we confirmed that the cooperation and solidarity of SSE was very important to overcome this crisis. So so we think if the act is passed, so the visibility of the SSE will be strengthened, and also the entire SSE movement will grow as much as the cooperative have grown through the Act on Cooperatives since 2012, because now we have about 21,000 cooperatives in Korea, so it's a huge number, but still it's the scale is small, but we hope this SSE covers not only cooperative but also other stakeholders and organizations that and gives them more chance to grow together.
Okay, so again, coming back to the Congress, so are we also inviting the other SSE players to come and attend the Congress so that there is more interaction which happens between SSE in Korea and the cooperatives, not only in Korea, but other countries? Is there an active outreach?
So for Icub?
No, for the entire, because this Congress is a good opportunity to also invite the other SSE players to say, come and join us, so that you all know more, and it can also help in terms of bonding. So is that outreach happening to the other SSE players?
Yeah, I think so. And then I also see the programs that GSEF participated in the Congress. I think that's the sign that the cooperatives and SSE started the collaboration and cooperation.
So is there a role that you see the ICA playing, maybe in the Korea context, that how for ICA is talking at a global level about the importance of SSEs, that cooperatives are part of the SSE family, though we still, like Simran said, the ICA position is we still need to maintain our distinct identity. But then we are part of that larger family of SSEs. And the ICA has also recently formed another network, which has, I think, few, GSEF is included in that, but there are quite a few. So now you have the GSEF network, you have the RIPESS, that network, and then now ICA has come up with a network. While this network is good, but do you see that what ICA could do to help in Korea in terms of promoting SSEs and promoting cooperatives and bringing together all the different players?
So personally, I think this Congress is a very good opportunity for promote the cooperative movement. But yes, I hope we invite more the SSE organization, the online and offline, to see how we do the activities and businesses similar to SSE organizations, and then the personally in Korea, because of the size of the cooperatives are bigger than SSE, and we have more histories, a longer history than SSE have. So I have hope there will be the platform where the cooperatives support smaller the organizations in terms of businesses and activities.
I'm just curious. So have iCOOP or others brought everyone, the other cooperatives, had any discussion all together on SSE and what each one's view is? Has any workshop or seminar or any conference happened?
With other cooperatives? Yes. For example, the network, social, SSE networks. So we are member, but also other cooperatives such as Hansalim, and they're also members. So yeah, because we share a similar identity as a cooperatives. So yeah.
No, but I was looking more at the agriculture, fisheries, them coming together. Has it happened?
So we do lots of the collaboration with the credit unions.
Okay.
And yes, and also we have a council for the ICA members.
Correct.
So yeah, so we do donation activities together, but mostly we do work with credit unions and other consumer cooperatives.
Okay. Maybe the Congress would be a good opportunity to also
yes.
how you can work with different players, and maybe the conversation on SSEs, while it's focused on identity, I do hope that SSEs are also discussed, because ICA now has formed a whole entity which is focused on SSEs. So maybe from the ICA side also, we can try to see how different players, cooperatives in Korea can come together. Because I think if you look at, especially at the Asia Pacific region, in Korea, that there is more of this conversation happening around SSEs, and in a much more, the scale also is much more than compared to other countries. So I think what happens and the process and what happens in Korea would be important when we look at some of the other countries. There is interest, but there is also the tension, because in some countries, some form of, so SSEs are promoted, cooperatives are kept out. So cooperatives feel left out. Whereas in other countries, this whole discussion has not happened. So I think what's happening in Korea, I think would be very, for us, it would be good to follow and see how things develop. And I think Korea can be a lead country when it comes to taking this across. So I see Philippines, there is a lot of interest. And a lot of this also happens in countries where there are many players. So Philippines is very active in terms of NGOs, social enterprises and others. But then cooperatives there have tended to be outside. So I think we need some body which brings everyone together, or at least helps facilitate that. And I think what's happening in Korea and with your work and the network and how things are happening, I think would be very, very helpful when we look at other countries.
But we still have a long way to go. We still have,
But you all have started some time back and you all are ahead. So it'll be good. And now I think Simran had mentioned about the workshop, and now the ILO is now looking at newer countries. They are going to work with the university and now looking at a new set of countries to find out what's happening. So I think we'll know more. These were some 6 countries which you knew during this workshop, but now we'll have more countries. So I think the opportunity is there to expand and also see how in other countries this engagement with the SSEs can happen.
So I hope there'll be if we have a more opportunity to share the experience, because we cannot discuss identities or cooperatives just in cooperatives, because so the movement is expanded to SSEs in Korea. So we need to include the other organization working in SSE when we discuss these identities and activities and values. So this is the Korean situation.
Okay, good. So thank you so much for taking the time, and we are looking forward to the Congress and hope we can be there in person and meet after a long time and interact and make sure that the Congress goes off well.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in Seoul. Yeah, so it's been years.
Good. Thank you.